there's like this recipe, and it's like, you want to make cookies, you got to put the egg and the flour and the chocolate.
You got to follow the.
You got to follow the recipe. You got to follow the recipe, right? You're like, I'm gonna make chocolate chip cookies, but I'm not gonna put chocolate chips in it.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking chocolate chip cookie, then, is it? You know what I mean? So it's like they give you this recipe for like sobriety. They're like, here's the ingredients for sobriety. Here's all of them. You got to do them all. If you leave some of the things out, you might not stay sober.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the #1 mental health and addiction podcast, the Hopeaholics. I am your girl, Natalie Eva Marie, and these are my boys.
I'm Chad.
Hi, I'm Shane.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow us on our socials and wherever you get your podcasts.
Got a new episode dropping every Monday and Thursday. Please come check it out.
This episode is brought to you by the Infinity Group. You guys, if you or a loved one is suffering, please call us today. The number is right here on the screen. We are here for you 24/7. Now, let's get into the episode.
Ricky.
Yeah,
Yes.
man.
Bro,
Yo,
welcome to the Hopeaholics Podcast.
Yeah.
dude, thank you.
Head to toe tattoo, man.
Yeah.
Head to toe.
Yeah, I got a couple spots left.
You do?
Not much.
Yeah.
I'm like 95%.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like $100,000.
Well, I
Probably more than.
Probably more.
I work at a shop, so I
Still.
Yeah.
I'm just talking retail.
yeah,
$250?
retail price. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy, bro.
Worth every penny.
Probably, I mean, it depending on who and what and where.
Could be half a
Yeah.
million.
It could be $500,000.
Could be. These guys that now
Walking around with a house.
they're doing it under anesthesia.
Yeah.
And they're getting like 5 guys worked on them at a time.
Yes.
That's like $100,000 just for that one session.
Yeah.
You got to have like an anesthesiologist in the room.
But they're getting their whole
That's-
entire back done
in like one day.
session.
Yeah.
And and then they wake up and they don't remember any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They might.
That's kind of wild.
The
That
thing
must be
is
so
that
cool.
I will tell you,
I don't know about
it
that.
still hurts after.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of trauma to your body.
Yeah.
When I get tattooed for like 8 hours, dude, like when I'm done, I feel like I'm getting the flu.
Mm-hmm.
Like my
Agree.
immune
Yeah.
system, it's just I don't feel great at all.
Agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what like my husband will say. Like he'll have a whole system down of what he does after he's done with the session.
Mm-hmm.
But he's pretty like.
And for
toast.
me, my whole like I'm very routine with my food and my water and everything, all out the door when I'm at the tattoo shop.
Yeah.
The tattoo artist never takes a fucking break, a food break.
I know.
Like
Smoke break, baby.
Yeah.
No, my artist doesn't. She doesn't
It's all
smoke.
business.
All business.
That's the way to do it.
She will order us like a smoothie, and she
Yeah.
pays for mine. So that's
Well,
cool.
usually when you take a break and then you get back to it, it hurts more. So if you don't break, it's probably better.
What's the longest session you've done on yourself?
That I've sat in,
Yeah.
I've sat through 8 hours. That's the longest I've sat, and that's the longest I probably will sit.
What hurts the most? What part of your body?
Close to the fingertips is like pretty bad. Anything near the foot, like the ankle area, pretty uncomfortable. The butt cheek was pretty painful.
You get your butt done too? Your butts are done?
I do, yeah.
God,
I
you know, if the girls were here, I'd be taking a peek. I'm not going to lie.
I got a portrait.
I've never seen a butt portrait before.
I got a portrait of the Mask,
Really?
Jim Carrey.
No.
I swear.
That is awesome.
It's amazing.
You can go in the bathroom.
Wait a
too.
second. You got a portrait of the mask
I
on
have
your
a
butt?
portrait of the Mask. Yeah,
Wow, man.
it's really good too.
So the green mask.
The green mask, full color. Everything.
That is cool.
It's like well done too.
One cheek?
One cheek.
What's
yeah.
on the other one?
Nothing yet.
Nothing.
That's one of the spots I got.
Wow, the green mask.
Do you have
That's pretty cool.
Do you have an idea for the other butt cheek?
I want to do another Jim Carrey because I have 2 Jim Carreys. I have that one and then I have this one. The
Oh yeah, Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
I love that one,
That's
man.
pretty damn good.
Yeah, and then so I was thinking about doing maybe like Ace Ventura or something.
Ace
on the other
Ventura would be
cheek.
good,
I
yeah.
don't know, Jim Carrey's my favorite.
Your guy.
He's my favorite.
When did it start? Like when was your first tattoo?
When I was 18.
Okay.
I remember, dude, I was like, when I turn 18, I'm getting a tattoo. And the guy that lived next door did tattoos out of his garage. And he was like, yeah, I got you, man. I got you, no problem. So we did my last name on my back. And I was just, after that, I was like,
And guys, he's only 20 now, so that's
yeah,
how
yeah.
that's how addicting
Pretty- yeah,
tattoos are.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Every day. Yeah. It happens quick.
So first tattoo in a garage.
First tattoo in a garage. I didn't ever really get tattooed in a shop until I started working in a
Oh,
shop.
right. Wow.
Yeah.
What made you
Damn.
want to get a tattoo in the first place?
You know what? When I was a kid, my dad was getting tattooed.
Okay.
So and I always thought my dad was the coolest, you know. And he'd come home and he'd have like these new. He was getting a sleeve done, And I was always like, dude, when I get
Yeah.
old enough, I'm gonna be tatted up.
Oh wow.
You know, so that was kind of always. I didn't want to be a tattooer. That just kind of happened from getting tattooed and then learning how to tattoo.
Let me ask you a question though. Yeah, obviously, to be a tattoo artist, you have to be an artist.
Yes, you have to have some kind of artistic ability, you know, but it doesn't always necessarily mean that, like, if you can draw, you can tattoo.
Oh,
Because I know a lot of people that can draw and paint and do amazing art, and they suck at tattooing. I also know a lot of guys that are really great tattooers that can't fucking draw a smiley face.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't always necessarily translate, but yeah, like if you have no artistic creativity, tattooing is going to be more challenging. You know?
Like for me, I probably could never be a tattoo artist because I truly can't even draw a stick figure without it kind of squiggly lines.
But even now with like technology and stuff,
yeah,
like
you
everything's
can-
done on an iPad. Like I don't ever really even draw
Yeah.
anything really anymore. Like it's
Coloring the lines nowadays.
you know, it's either going to be some kind of if it's traditional, it's going to be flash out of a
Yeah.
book, or it's going to be something that I'm going to recreate. Or if it's something that's like more realistic, you just find images and you cut and paste and you put them together, and you got your face and your rose and your clock and your, you know, whatever, and you just put them together and you tattoo it. You know, you don't really, nobody draws.
He says
really.
this, but like, bro, there's shading, there's all
There's
this
a lot more
stuff
to it,
in,
yeah.
and like,
There's a
he's
lot of bad
making it
tattoo
sound-
artists.
He's
There
making
is.
it sound
Yeah.
simple.
It's
Yeah.
just like a hair salon. Like
Yeah.
you have a lot of creative people that can do hair and
Right.
be not good at it.
Absolutely.
And then vice versa, where you can have people that are just extremely talented.
Right.
And obviously, the hair coloring game has changed dramatically from 50 years ago to
Right.
like what it is today. So I can only imagine the correlation being a
Yeah.
little bit similar from like a creative standpoint. What's the hours that it takes to become, I guess, a tattooed artist, or is there a license? What does that look like?
So I when I tattooed for a couple, like 5 years, just as a hobby, and then when I got sober, I met another guy that was a tattoo artist in a shop, and he was sober, and he offered me an apprenticeship. So my apprenticeship was a year of me basically showing up to the shop, opening the shop, cleaning the shop, you know, setting these guys up, breaking them down, getting coffee, just cleaning the bathroom, like doing all that stuff. And then they'd give me like assignments and draw this. And, you know, today you're drawing names, today you're tracing flash, today you're doing this, you're doing that. So it was about, it was a year apprenticeship. I wasn't allowed to even touch a tattoo machine until I was there for 6 months.
Okay.
And then they let me start playing around with tattoo machines. And then I did my first tattoo, and then I was an apprentice tattooer. So I was doing small stuff. And then basically once they were like, okay, you're ready to start tattooing and making money, I committed to the owner of the shop for a year as an employee. So I got you don't get like a license. You just basically register with the health department.
Which is so crazy.
You just go down there, like anybody can get it, but a shop has to vouch for you.
Okay.
You can't just be like, I'm a tattoo artist now.
That makes
Like
sense.
a shop has to be like, yes, he works for us. We want him to get the certification because the health department checks
Yeah.
everybody. 'Cause they just want to make sure you're being clean.
Yeah,
That's
of
the
course.
most. That's really, they don't care if you're good. They just want to make sure you're not
Like infecting
passing
people.
bloodborne
Yeah.
pathogens and stuff. You know.
Yeah. I can only imagine there being a lot of alcohol and drugs within the tattooing community.
It was gnarly because I was like pretty new in sobriety. Like I started my apprenticeship and I had a year sober. I was like still living in sober living. I was
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. And like I'd show up to work and there'd be like shot glasses everywhere and like blunts like on
Yep.
the trays and like, you know what I mean? And like, dude, and I'm like, I got to clean all this shit up, dude. And it was like,
Crazy.
but I had a pretty strong foundation, you know, in my sobriety. So like, you know, they say like you can go anywhere a free man
Oh,
can
yeah.
go, you know what I mean? As long as you're like spiritually fit, you know?
Yes.
So I would show up and they'd be having a good time and I'd be like, yeah, that looks like that could be fun. But also like there'd be days where like they'd come to work the next day and be like, dude, I got hammered and my chick slashed my tires and you know, and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part, dude. I don't miss that stuff, you know? So there's like, you know, I don't know. Sometimes it looks fun, but I know that for me it's like once everyone goes home, I'm gonna stay at the shop, I'm gonna go get loaded and where the shop's gonna become a trap house.
For
you
sure.
know? Yeah, real quick.
What's what? So let's go back to your early days. What was life like for you growing up?
Dude, you know what? I really had like a pretty normal childhood, really, when I think about it. You know, like my parents were pretty young. They were like 18 when I was born. You know, they were high school dropouts, and you know, they, you know, worked. My mom was a waitress. My dad was an iron worker. My dad was gone a lot. He was always, you know, working out of town. He did a lot of stuff like in Vegas. He worked on a lot of, you know, big stuff. And then when he was around, they would fight a lot, you know, stuff like that. So it was kind of like, I don't know, I don't have any trauma really, but it was just kind of a little dysfunctional, I guess you could say, you know. They split up when I was like 7, and then my mom got married when I was 10 to, you know, her now ex-husband, but at the time he was my stepdad, and you know, he made it very like clear to me that like I was not his son.
Oh, wow.
You know, growing up, you know what I mean? So it's like my dad wasn't around, and then my stepdad was kind of a dick, you know, and then my mom ended up getting pregnant when I was like 14 with my little brother, and so they were kind of focused on the baby, and that kind of led me, I was like 14, that kind of led me to kind of like start getting away with shit, you know. That's kind of when I started to drink and smoke weed and stuff, you know. I remember the first time I drank, my cousin was in town from Vegas, and he's like 9 months younger than me, and he had already kind of been partying for a little while, you know, and he came to stay for a couple weeks. He's like, hey, we should you know, we should go get some beers, man. And I like never had a beer before, you know, and I was like, that sounds like an amazing idea. Let's totally go do that, you know. So we went to some friend's house. We got some money together. We went to Rite Aid, and we, you know, hey, mistered it, you know, hey, can you, you know, hey, can you get us some beer? And guys, what do you guys want? We're like, whatever, we don't know, you know. And he came out with these big green Mickey 40s.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean? And we went back to the garage, man. And I remember drinking that thing to the label. You know, I drank about that much, and I was buzzing hard already, dude. And I was like, this is what's up, you know. And I drank the whole 40, man. And I was like, it was the best time ever, dude. Like, we had so much fun that night. We ended up going to like a backyard party. Like, I made out with some chick. Like, it was just as cool, you know. And I didn't go home. So the next day, my stepdad showed up to my friend's house. He knew like where we were, you know, and he showed up and pulled us out of there and took us home. And my mom was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you can't just not come home, you know, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you're grounded. And I was like, dude, fuck. So I was grounded for 2 weeks. Couldn't use the phone, couldn't go outside, couldn't watch TV, you know. And like, I'd have friends call the house and they'd be like, hey, you know, Ricky there? And she'd be like, no, he's on restriction, you know. And I'm like, you don't even make it sound cool, man. Like, that sounds so lame, dude. Like, so I knew I didn't like the consequences, you know. Already I was like, man, I don't like not being able to like do stuff, you know. So I didn't do it a lot, but every time I could get away with it, I was drinking, you know. We'd go to the friend's house, stay the night, bust out the bottle of rum, you know, take some swigs off of it, you know, put it under the faucet, fill it back up with water, put it back in the cabinet, you know. And you know, it's just good times all the time, you know. No real consequences really, just partying, having fun, and just good times, you know. And I was like a C student. I showed up to school, I got a diploma, you know, I graduated, and I got a job working at Cost Plus World Market.
Oh yeah.
I was like 18, and I was like, I'm stocking shelves, and I'm showing up to work, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. This is like the lamest thing in the world, you know. And the guy that gave me my first tattoo, you know, I was telling him about this. I was like, dude, I hate working. Like, it's just so lame. I don't want to work, you know. And he's all, well, you got a bunch of friends that smoke weed, right? I was like, yeah. He's all, well, why don't you just sell them weed? And I was like, well, that's a brilliant idea. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe I should just do that. And he's all, dude, I got you. I'll front you an ounce of weed. You know, you bring me back the money, and then, you know, we'll just do it like that. And he gave me an ounce of weed. I brought him back $400. I had some extra weed, and I was like, I can do this. This is easy money, you know. And I just started selling weed. Quit my job. Eventually, my parents kind of figured out what was going on, you know, and like that, we would, you know, fight about that. Oh, you're smoking weed, you're getting high, whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, obviously am. I have like a backpack full of weed. I smell like a weed farm, you know. My mom's like, dude, what the hell, man? And the first time I really got loaded, man, I remember I went to this guy's pad, and he hit me up. He's like, hey, can you bring me, you know, a 20 of weed, you know? And I go over there, I you know, give him the weed. He's like, yeah, you want to drink a tall can and smoke a blunt? And I'm like, yeah, sure, fuck yeah, dude. So we're sitting there drinking a beer, smoking a blunt, you know, chilling. And he's like, you wanna do a line of cocaine? Well, absolutely, I do. Let's do that. You know, we do a line of cocaine, and you know, we're drinking beers, we're having a good time, we're talking. He's like, you want to do a hot rail? I was like, what's that? He's like, it's when you heat up a glass tube and you snort a line and blow out a cloud of smoke. I was like, that sounds amazing. Like, let's do that, you know. And snort this line, and my nose is on fire. I'm like, what the hell is that, man? He's all, it's crystal meth. And I'm like, I love crystal meth now, you know? And I just immediately was like, I love this feeling, you know? And bro, like after that, like I went home, I was at this guy's pad for like 10 days. I didn't go to sleep, you know, we're partying, right? And I ended up going back home, and my mom was at home waiting for me. And she's like, you know, I want you to pee in this cup. And I was like, oh, fuck, dude. Like, all right, you know. So I pee in the cup. And I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be cool. It's going to be all right. And it comes up positive for like everything on the test. I'm like, fuck,
That's a
dude,
good
I'm
weekend.
so busted,
Wow.
you know? And she's like, what the hell, man? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, you got to get your shit together. You got to get out of the house, basically, you know? And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get my shit together. You know, I'll stop, you know? And I was just tired. I wanted to take a nap. I wanted to shower. I wanted to eat, you know? And I did that. Like, I slept it off for a day or two, and you know what happens? You know, you wake up and you're like,
Let's go.
let's go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to get out of here. Got to get out of the house, you know? And I jammed, and then one more time came back, and eventually, like, they just took all my shit out of my room. Basically, I came home, and my stepdad was like, all your shit's in the storage. I paid for the first month. After this month is up, you better figure it out.
Oh,
You know? And I was like, fuck, all right. You know, I'm a grown-ass man. I'll be able to take care of myself. And that didn't work out for me, you know? So I moved back up north to Ventura with my grandma, and I stayed in her little laundry room for a little while. And I was like kind of forced to be sober because I didn't have any friends or anything up there, you know? So I got a job with my cousin, and I was doing drywall, and I got some shit. You know, I got a bank account, I got a little car, you know, I eventually moved out of my grandma's house, got a little apartment, you know, and I kind of had my shit together, and, you know, I was drinking here and there, and, you know, it was like I had arrived, you know, I was like, I got this, like, I'm getting my shit together, like, this is cool, this is, you know, I was like 21, you know, and, I was just at the bar every weekend, you know, I was making good money, I was, you know, at the time, I was making like, depending on, you know, what we were doing, I was making between like 20 to 25 bucks an hour. You know what I mean? And this was, you know, 15 years ago. That was pretty good money for a 21-year-old kid. You know what I mean? My rent was like 500 bucks. I didn't have a car payment. Like, so I was making pretty good money, you know, and I'd spend it all at the bar. You know what I mean? I'd just blow it all at the bar, you know, and I would go back, like I would get on the train and I'd come back down here to kick it on the weekends sometimes, you know, and hang out with my old friends. And I remember I came back, and all my friends were tweaked out. Like, all the homies were fucking loaded, you know? And I'm like, all right, we're getting loaded, you know? And so I'd come down, I'd get loaded on the weekends, I'd go back home, I'd work all week, I'd come back on the weekends, get loaded, and eventually it was like I'd come down, get loaded, pick up a bag, and I'd take my bag home. And then now I'm just high every day, you know? And from like 22 till I was 29,
oh wow.
I was high on speed and alcohol every single day, no days off. I never got sick. I never took a vacation. It was every day I'm drinking alcohol and I'm doing speed, you know? And for like years it worked. You know, it worked for like till I was like 25, I think. I was able to kind of keep my shit together. I was able to keep a job. I was able to have a car. I was able to have my own place or rent a room from somebody or figure it out or live with a chick or whatever, you know? And I'd kind of burn it down, get my shit back together. I would always be in these relationships with girls that weren't loaded, and I'm just lying about being loaded, you know, and like always, you know, like I drink a lot. So like, that's my excuse, you know, like, why didn't I show up? Like, oh, I was drinking, but really I'm high, you know?
Yeah.
And so that was just kind of my get down, you know? And I don't know where it all went wrong, man, but eventually like it just stopped working the way that it did in the beginning. You know, I was not able to show up on time anymore. I wasn't able to do my job. I was not pulling it off. People were catching on, like knew that I was fucked up. Like it was just not working for me anymore, you know? And around like 27 or 28, I got into tattooing, you know? I remember I was at this dude's pad and we're getting fucked up and he has a tattoo machine, you know, old school coil machine, and we're all partying and he's like, dude, check out this tattoo machine. And I'm like, dude, let's set this thing up and like let's start tattooing, you know? And you know, we set this thing up. I could barely figure out how to put it together, and we got it together. We got some ink out. We started tattooing, you know, and it was like after that I was like, I'm gonna fucking tattoo. That's what I'm gonna do. I want to be a tattooer. So a lot of the tattoos that I have, I did myself. I spent like a year solid tattooing myself almost every day. Like my whole legs are sleeved out all my whole legs. I did most of my stomach. I did my chest, and I was just I was either tattooing myself or some of my friends. I have a handful of friends that have the worst fucking sleeves you have ever seen done by me. And I see them now and I'm like, fuck, what the fuck was I thinking, you know? And, but I got really into it, you know? And, I ended up, starting going out with this chick, and I was tattooing her, and we were kind of going out, and, you know, she was like a bartender, you know, she wasn't really on drugs, but she like partied, she did like cocaine and stuff, you know, whatever. Right. And, so we started like going out, and, I ended up getting her on speed with me, you know. You know what I mean? I was like, this is going to be bad, but let's do this, you know. And it just really went downhill really quickly, you know. And we started doing crime. We got really like heavy into crime. We were going to these open houses all over California, and we were basically going in these places pretending like we were trying to buy the joint, you know. And we would just go in there and just steal all the fucking jewelry, you know. And we would take all the jewelry, we would go pawn it, and we were like, there was a lot of money involved in this. I was like shocked by this thing that this worked, you know. And so we were doing this, and we eventually got busted, right? And I thought it was like not a big deal, you know. I'm like, dude, what we're doing is like, it's like wedding crashers, you know what I mean? It's not really illegal. It's probably just frowned upon, you know. But it was residential burglaries is what they were, you know. And I did not know that that's how serious what we were doing was. I thought it was just like a petty theft, you know. And we ended up getting busted. And like I had been to jail a couple of times before for like stupid small shit, nothing serious, you know. And we got arrested, and these unmarked cars rolled up, and these guys with bulletproof vests on and guns drawn, and they come out and they're like, get out of the car, you know. And I'm like, oh shit, like this is serious, you know. And they pull me out, handcuff me, and they sit me down, and they have these wanted posters with my face on them. They're like, is this you? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like maybe, like they're like, this is your car, this is you, this is your license plate number, this is you at this place, this is you at this residence, this is you. And I'm like, dude, and they're like, we've been following you around for a week. And I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, we followed you to the house you were at last night, you went to this place, like they were named. And I was like, holy shit, dude, like how did I not know that this was going on, you know? Because you'd think I'm on drugs, I should be paranoid, right? I should be like, somebody's following me, I should, you know, catch on to that, you know. And I had no idea. So I went to jail, you know, and man, like that was the first time I had been sober in, you know, 8 or 9 years. I went to jail, and like I had to be sober, you know, for a little while at least, you know. And I get to jail, and then, you know, I'm there for a couple of days. I go to court, and they're like, yeah, we can't give you any information on your case because you're picking up more charges. I'm like, that doesn't sound good, you know. And the next time I went to court, the same thing. They're like, you're getting more charges. They're picking up their investigations, picking up cases all around Orange County, basically. So by the time I really got my discovery, it was like thick, dude. It was like 4 manila like folders full of like hardcore evidence, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, like I'm so burnt. And I remember the public defender, he was telling me, he's like, dude, there's no way that you're going to be able to take this to trial. Like there's no way that you can fight the evidence against you. You got to wait in here until they give you an offer, and basically don't take the first offer. You gotta wait until they give you a good offer, you know. He's like, I don't know what it's looking like, you know. And next time I went back to court, he's like, okay, so here's the deal on the table right now. They're gonna give you 2 strikes and 10 years in prison. And I'm like, this is the first time I've ever really been to jail, you know what I mean? And I'm like, 10 years in prison, like for what? You know, like there's no way. And then he's like, well, you have residential burglaries, you know, fraud, grand theft auto, you have, you know, identity theft, you have all these things. And he's like, that's what it is, you know? So I go back to court again. Basically, I'm in there for like 6 or 7 months, you know? And I remember being in jail, man. And like the first 30 days I was in there, I was like totally stone cold sober, you know? And, eventually after I found out I was going to go to prison, I was like, all right, like, I'm going to start getting loaded and doing all the things that everyone else in here is doing. Like, might as well, you know? So start getting high, start doing all that stuff. And, you know, and it was like, I knew that that's not what I wanted. I knew I did not want that lifestyle, you know? And remember thinking to myself, like, man, if I can get out of here, like, I'll never get high again. I'll never lie. I'll never steal. I'll never cheat. You know what I mean? I'm going to get right, you know, if I could ever get out of here. And so eventually they told me they're going to give me 2 strikes, 5 years on probation, and a 6-year suspended sentence. So basically I'll do my time on probation, and if I violate probation, then they're going to send me to prison. So I was getting out. I'm like, that's amazing. I'm getting out. This is going to be great. You know, I'm going to get out. I'm going to get clean. I'm going to get my shit together. It's going to be great, you know? And that is not what happened. I got out and immediately was like, I can have a beer, you know? I just got to not put a needle in my arm. That's all, you know? And I started drinking again. That lasted not very long until I was getting loaded again, you know, and not checking into probation. And the thing that really saved me was COVID, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got released like 2 months before the lockdown. So I got out, I was getting loaded, and I stopped checking into probation. And like 2 weeks later, my PO calls me, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting a call. I'm like, oh dude, that's it, I'm going to jail. And he's like, hey, you know, just let you know that we're going into a lockdown for COVID. It's going to be about 3 weeks. You can't physically come in to check in, but you have to check in over the phone, so there won't be any drug testing or anything. And I'm like, perfect. Like, I got you, bro. Don't worry about it. I'm good. I'm quarantined. I'm straight, you know? And I was not. I was at the homie's house on the couch. We're getting loaded. We're partying. We're having a good time. And like, man, we were on a sick one, dude. And I knew that like eventually things were going to open back up, and I was going to have to like figure it out. You know, I'm like, okay, I'm going to either have to get sober or I'm going to go to jail. It's one or the other, you know, but I couldn't figure out how to stop. I remember telling myself like, okay, today I'm done. Like, I'm going to do my last shot, and tomorrow I'm just going to sleep it off for a week, and then I'll be good, and I'll go back to grandma's house or whatever, you know, and like every day would be like, tomorrow, this is my last one. Like, boom, last one. Tomorrow I'm done. And that lasted like 6 months of me telling myself tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, dude. And so the girl that I got busted with, she ended up like kind of coming back in my life, and she was telling me, she was like, hey, you know what, we should go to rehab together, you know? And I was like, all right, like that's a good idea, you know? One of my buddies was like, hey, there's a really good rehab, it's called Wood Glen, it's in Fullerton. You can go there. It's 90 days. It'll be perfect, you know? And if you get there, your PO won't arrest you. You just tell them, hey, you know, I'm checking myself in. Like, it should be good, you know? So we did that. We show up, we go through the detox, you know, and a couple days into the program, she decides she has to split. Mm-hmm. She's like, I gotta go, you know. And I remember thinking like, dude, that's the worst case scenario, you know. Like, dude, my chick's gone. I'm in rehab by myself. Like, this is the worst case scenario, you know. And like, that was probably the best thing that could happen to me was for her to bounce, you know. Like, I was in there, didn't want to be there, you know. She took off. And somebody told me, like, you know, call your sponsor, right? Because I was like, dude, I want to leave. I got to go after her. I got to go save her, you know? And they're like, yeah, call your sponsor, right? So I call my sponsor, and I'll never forget this conversation I had with this guy, right? I'm like, yeah, dude, like, this chick took off. I kind of want to bounce. You know, I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, what do you want, man? And I'm like, honestly, I don't really know what I want. I was like, I know what I don't. I know I don't want what I currently have, but I don't know if I want what, like, you have. I don't know if I want sobriety. I don't know if I want any of this, you know? And he was like, okay, well, you must not have any integrity then if you're going to leave, right? And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? You know, like I didn't even know what integrity meant, but I knew that like it's probably something a grown man should have.
Yeah.
You know, and I knew I didn't have it, you know, and I was like, I have integrity. He's like, well, you told me you were going to stay the 90 days, do the steps, and like now you want to split. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right, you know, and he was like, well, if you want something different, you're going to have to do something different. I remember that was like the smartest thing I ever heard. I was like, holy shit, man, do something different? Like, why have I never thought of that? You know, like, do something different. I'm like, all right, man. I was like, you know what? It's a little embarrassing to be here, but like, I'll stay. He goes, you know what's embarrassing? Being a grown man with nothing. It's pretty fucking embarrassing, isn't it? I was like, damn, this dude is like just letting me have it. You know what I mean? I'm like, God damn, bro. Like, he's just telling me all these things about myself that like I did not want to hear, you know what I mean? But I needed to hear. Like, I needed somebody to like level me, humble me, and be like, dude, Like, you ain't gonna figure this thing out on your own.
And
If
you ain't it.
Yeah, you ain't it, dude. Like, like all the other shit that you always do doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, so why don't you just try this thing that you've never done? And so I made a commitment. I was like, all right, bro, like I'll stay the 90 days. I'll read the book. I'll do the steps, you know, and let's do this thing, you know. So we started going through the steps, you know, and like I had like this weird thing with God when I got there, right? That I'm like, there's no such thing as God. God does not exist, right? Anybody that believes in God is hiding behind the Bible, or they're hiding behind religion or whatever because they're scared, or they don't have, you know, answers to what happens when you die or whatever, right? And like religion is just a way to like control mass amounts of people. And like, I just don't believe in this stuff, you know? So like, they're like, you got to find a God. I'm like, all right, I knew it. I knew this thing was weird. Like, I knew that this thing was going to be like this. Like, I'm not doing it, you know? And somebody told me, they're like, well, it doesn't have to be like any certain kind of God. It doesn't have to be like, you know, Jesus or Buddha or anything like that. It could just be like whatever you think it is, you know? And somebody told me one time, they're like, you know, I it's not that I didn't believe in God, it's that I didn't believe in the conception of God that I was taught. Mm-hmm. That's what I didn't believe in. I didn't believe in the version of God that was told to me my entire life, right? So I didn't really know what God was. So I remember I'm sitting there and I'm in group, right? And I'm like staring at the ceiling and I'm like not really paying attention, you know, I'm just kind of spaced out. I'm like, all right, dude, I gotta find God. Like, all right, I gotta find God. Like, how do I do that? And I'm like having this conversation in my head, you know, and I'm like, okay, God, if you exist right now, give me an earthquake. And nothing happened, right? And I'm like, see, shit doesn't work, you know? And so a couple hours later, we're getting ready for bed, and I'm laying in my bunk, and I'm staring at the, you know, the top of my bunk, and I'm kind of just tripping, you know, whatever. And all of a sudden, the room starts shaking, you know, and all the guys are upstairs, and they're like, "It's an earthquake!" And everyone starts running downstairs, and I'm laying there going like, "Well, that's a fucking coincidence, you know? Like, I just kind of like prayed about this earlier. That's weird, you know?" And I don't know, man. Like at that moment, I was like, I think that that's God. I don't know. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not a scientist or anything, but like, I think that might be what that was, you know? And from that moment moving forward, like I hit my knees, dude. I hit my knees and like, I don't know what God is, you know? I really don't. Like I'm not religious, you know? I'm just kind of like, the mindset I had when I got here was God does not make sense. Now my mindset is no, God doesn't make sense. Like we are something, right? Nothing can be created by nothing. It has to be created by something, right? So whatever it is, whether it's the universe or it's positive energy or if it's the Big Bang or whatever you want to call it, like there's something out there that's unexplainable and it's a force of nature that we can actually tap into. And when we do that, we can reach our full potential. And I think that really the problem I experienced my entire life is that I had no connection with anything other than my selfishness, my own thoughts, my own feelings, my own whatever I wanted. Never considered the possibility of being wrong, you know, or anybody else's feelings or there being anything other than myself, you know. And like once I was able to like remove myself from the equation, you know, I was able to like stay sober for a little while, you know. And of course, there was like more work to be done. You know, there was like, you know, you have to be of service. You have to like go to meetings. You have to help other guys recover. You have to do all these things. And it's like, you know, there's like this recipe, you know, and it's like, you want to make cookies. You got to put the egg and the flour and the chocolate.
You got to follow the.
You got to follow the recipe. You got to follow the recipe, right? You're like, I'm going to make chocolate chip cookies, but I'm not going to put chocolate chips in it.
Yeah.
It's not a fucking chocolate chip cookie then, is it? You know what I mean? So it's like they give you this recipe for like sobriety. They're like, here's the ingredients for sobriety. Here's all of them. You got to do them all. If you leave some of the things out, you might not stay sober, right? So I just did all the stuff they told me to do, you know? And like the way that I live my life today is very much the same as when I first got sober, you know? I mean, it was kind of a challenge in the beginning, you know, because when I got out of rehab, I went to this sober living, right? And it was a high accountability house, you know. And the guy that was running the place was like, you have to have a sponsor. You have to be sponsoring other guys. You know, you have to be going to doing panels. You have to be, you know, leading meetings. You have to have commitments. You have to do all this shit. And I'm like, fuck, fuck, this sounds like a lot of work, you know? I'm like, dude, that's so much work, you know? And once you like start to do it and you start to enjoy it, it's not like as much work as it sounds. And what I really realized was like, you know what's a lot of work? Being fucking high every day.
Yeah.
That's a full-time job.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like that's way harder to like stay high than it is to stay sober. It's way more work, you know? And, you know, I stayed in that sober living for like 18 months. You know, I was there for a while, you know, I had cheap rent, you know, I had a little job, I saved up some money, you know, and I just programmed, man. I was just programming every day. It was, you know, I'm showing up, I'm going to these meetings, I'm reading this book, I'm sponsoring guys, I'm doing all these things, you know, and like my life just got like insanely good, you know, and within the first year, like I was happy. You know, like, and all other outside circumstances should show, like, why is this guy happy? He lives in a sober living with 10 other dudes, and he's, like, got a little 99 Honda Civic. He's got no chick. Like, you know, why is this guy happy? And it's like, dude, I just feel I'm cool. Like, I don't wake up in the morning and feel like I got to grab the shit pipe. And, like, I like that, you know? And so I started to do all this stuff because I like the effects produced by it. Same reason why I got loaded. I like the effects produced by getting loaded. So I like the effects produced by working a program. I like the way that my life has become, you know. And it was the first year was a lot, you know. It was a lot. And my program today is you know, I'm not at a meeting every day. You know, but I go to like 2 or 3 a week. You know, I sponsor a handful of guys. I have a commitment on Saturdays. I go back to the rehab I went to. I facilitate a group there. You know, like I still do all the things that they told me to do. And I don't know, like, if it's like, is all that stuff really what's keeping me sober? You know, like, could I be sober without it? I don't know, because I've been doing it the whole time. So if I stop doing all that stuff, I'm really rolling the dice, you know, like, so I'm going to probably just keep doing it. Like, it's working so far. And like, the coolest thing about it really is that, like, you know, I have solid relationships. Like, my friends today, like, are solid, you know, like people that I I can count on, you know. I have my family back in my life, dude. My sister, my grandma, first of all, my grandma's been sober in the program for like 43 years or something crazy, right? She's been sober. She has AA chips older than me.
Wow.
You know, my sister's sober, my chick's sober, you know, my roommates are sober, you know, my cousin, he's sober, my dad's sober, like it's just this ripple effect of like all these people in my life, and it's like we're sober and we're like, we get to like be present and show up, you know. And it's like I could have missed all that, you know. I could have missed all that. And it's like I don't know where I would be right now if all that shit didn't happen, you know. And they say, like, you know, everything happens for a reason, right? There's no mistakes in God's universe, right? And it's like sometimes terrible shit has to happen for good shit to come, you know. And like we have to be pretty badly and beaten before we're willing to like actually do something different, you know. And like I don't know, man, like life today is super easy to stay sober. It's not like I wake up every day and go like, fuck, man, how am I going to not grab a beer today? How am I going to not pick up drugs? Like if I had to think about that, I'd probably just get high.
That's the promise of the program that I attend all the time. That's the one promise that they have.
Yeah.
Right? Freedom from active addiction.
Yeah.
Like I don't ever wake up and think, hey, I like it doesn't even rarely does it cross my mind.
Right. It's the problem has been removed.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, because it's so clearly stated and clear.
Yeah.
I'm the problem.
Right.
Me.
Yeah.
So now we have the ingredients.
We have the
problem.
we have the solution, right? And see, you're so on the money with that because obviously it's clearly stated, but we're the problem. I'm the problem. What the solution in the beginning was drugs, and we wouldn't have continued using drugs if it didn't work. It worked.
It did.
Until it didn't.
Right.
I have never seen this not work for somebody that is continuing to do it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You know, like the other program clearly states, you know, we get a daily reprieve.
Yeah.
A daily reprieve. I really like I really liked the part especially when you talked about you know, finding God, right? And like even people that that believe in Jesus, right? Nobody truly knows
We'll never know.
what God is.
Yeah.
Not until the end.
Yeah.
Until we do.
Until
we
we're
get-
already on the other side.
until we're on the other side. You know, and that's what I like about the program is that it truly is freedom of religion, freedom of spirituality. It is your freedom to have that personal relationship with your own understanding of what God is
Yeah.
Yeah.
and who he is
Yeah.
or she or whatever people want to call it. I don't really
Whatever.
care.
And I can go, like, I have no problem. I'll go to church.
Yeah,
I've
Me
go,
too.
I've been, you know what I mean? I go to church and I can hear some
Oh,
shit
for
that I need
sure.
to hear, you know, like the word of Jesus, the word of the Buddha. Like a lot of these guys are just teaching love. They're just teaching,
At
they're
the
just
end of the
teaching
day,
peace.
that's all it is.
Selflessness.
You know what I mean? They're all
It's
teaching
love.
the same
Service.
thing, you know, and it's like,
I went
I
to
think-
Shane's church.
yeah, I think people get so wrapped up in like worshiping
I
these
do
guys
too.
that they forget to like follow what they said to do.
Agree.
You know, like in Buddhism, the highest form of prayer is practicing the teachings of the Buddha. That's the highest form of prayer, is doing what the Buddha did. You know, and it's like, it should be the same thing with any religion. Like, if you believe in Jesus, then do what that guy was talking about.
Well, he's definitely not judging other people for not
No.
believing.
No,
No.
He was never doing that.
no.
And he wasn't yelling at people trying to get them like swinging this way. It was like
Yeah.
he was attraction
was-
rather than promotion.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
He was
Leading with
based on
love.
attraction rather than promotion. The only time he wasn't a punk, though. I will
No, he didn't take no,
No.
shit.
He didn't take no shit.
Mm-mm.
I mean, there are some stuff in the Bible about how he went into the Jewish temples and flipped over
Yeah.
tables, and you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that's I like podcasts like this because number one, you just flowed, bro. Which is the
In
fact
your
that
zone.
like when somebody flows the way you just flowed,
It's
it's
freestyle.
it's because you've worked the program.
Yeah.
It's God speaking through you, though. You have a testimony. And
That's
it's
what
important.
it is. That's what it is. And it's like when we open up and like let this thing like so and I see it all around me. Like there's guys that like had helped me in early sobriety to do the same thing, like the way that
Sure.
they speak and the way that they share, and I'm like, dude, and it's like you're just a vessel,
Just a vessel.
You're just a vessel, like, and I'm not even really like much different than the guys that like came before me. Like my sponsor, very similar message. You know, his sponsor, very similar message. It's like we showed up, we surrendered, we did the work, our lives are great, and we continue to do the work if we want to
Yeah.
keep our sobriety, right? They say like, you know, the rent is due every day around here. Like you got to pay the rent every single day, you know? And it's like I was never able to stay loaded off of the drugs I bought yesterday,
Yeah, totally.
you know? Or I didn't ever go like, well, you know what?
I never.
I
Had
got
one.
I got high. Yeah, I got high a couple days ago. I'm good today.
Yeah.
Like I'll take today off. Like I was never like it was every day. When I was,
There was no day off.
no day off.
Yeah.
It was an ongoing thing.
You know, unless I slept through the day, which that
Right.
has happened before.
That has many
Yeah, and that
you
means
know,
that you're
being a
useless.
Yes.
being
Piece of
being
shit.
a meth addict,
Right.
Yeah.
I've woke up many times wondering what
2 days
fucking
later.
day- yeah.
Oh, shit.
Did I just sleep? What day is it? It's
Yeah.
Thursday. I
Crazy.
went to bed on Monday.
But you know what I love
Yeah.
too about your story is that it shows what can happen on both pendulums. So like
Right.
you chose sobriety, you do, you know, your daily reprieve, your thing, and the ripple effect that it has not only for yourself but the individuals that you love, your family. And then it totally counter that, swing the pendulum to the other opposite direction. You're dead or in prison, and your family,
Right.
who knows?
Right.
You know, and I think that's what's the beautiful thing about sobriety
Yeah.
is that we are so self-consumed that we forget the ripple effect that it has, our destruction. But then you do the polar opposite and you end up getting sober. It has the same effect in a positive manner, where people in your life that you love, not only are you able to actually be dependable for them, like they can call you and you can show up,
Right.
or they know that you're alive, or people aren't staying up wondering where you're at because you're not answering your phone. And then they're like, you know what? Maybe I'm going to give this a try too.
Yeah.
And then they decide to go ahead and put down whatever it is, whatever substance that they're their drug of choice or alcohol or booze or whatever it may be. And then it leads into better people in society. And I think that's what's rad about the whole program and kind of how this thing works.
Yeah.
So good for you.
Yeah. It's like, you see, and I see it all around me, like, people that get their lives back together and their families back together, get their kids back, get their parents, all that stuff. And it's like, a lot of times, like the people that love us the most are the ones that are hurt the most, and it's like when we get sober, they're finally at peace, like my grandma, like I said, she's been sober my entire life, you know what I mean? So she's watched me go through it, and like, she would always tell me, she's like, eventually my prayers were going to get answered. She never like forced me to get sober or forced me to go to the program, but like, I knew that she was always probably praying for me, and, I knew that she worried, like, now when I think about it, I'm like, damn, what a dick.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like my poor little old grandma just staying up at night, you know what I mean? Just worrying about what's going on with me.
And praying.
Yeah. And just praying like, fuck, dude. You know what I mean? So like, it's a greatest gift we could really give to ourselves and to anybody around us,
Agreed.
Bro, God was looking out for you, man.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you say that, your grandma's prayers were
absolutely
were coming down full force because
sure.
honest to God, like your crimes, dude,
I know.
Those are no joke.
I know.
Like that's residential burglary. It legit is residential.
Like big time.
Yeah, like that 6-year suspended sentence was like
let me off easy.
I mean, and then the fact that somebody else was looking out for you because like I've had a couple suspended sentences myself, and like, dude,
that's not even the worst part. So like how we got busted was the house we went to. We took the car out of the drive. We took the keys. And then later on, we took the car out of the driveway, drove around in the car for a little while, ditched the car, right? And then it turns out that car belonged to Fountain Valley DA. So we basically robbed the DA's house. And like that's like how we really got busted is
for sure.
That certain event led to like them opening this huge investigation.
For sure.
And like I was like, dude, everybody in there told me, they're like, oh, bro, you're going to prison for a long time. Like there's no way around it. Like that's you're gonna do time.
But I like what you said too for people that are listening, because obviously, we have the podcast, but we have treatment centers as well. And a lot of things that I'm new in like the treatment business, I guess you could say. I've been to treatment myself, but being here and seeing what happened, I think it's really important. You saying like you stayed. We see a lot of couples come in, and I think that it's a disservice to one another to so codependent where their actions are like, oh, I want to bounce. Everybody wants to leave. Everyone wants to leave treatment because it's uncomfortable. You're getting told what to do. You're not able to like run and gun like you used to, but that's the whole point of you picking up the phone and getting into treatment in the first place, to like make a change. And then you get here and shit's uncomfortable. And the first thing, or at least for me, it's like, oh, it's not going my way. I'm out. Bye.
Yeah.
I love that a part of your story is that you went in with your girl. She decided, you know what, this isn't for me. I'm out. And you, before you made that rash decision to bounce too, called your sponsor, and he let you make that decision yourself by giving you like, my brother calls me to this day and lets me know like, I'm not shit. Like me running the show is terrible.
Right.
So you had that like clear kind of, oh damn, like this guy is basically telling me some real hard truths. Yeah. And you decided to stay. Like staying in treatment, give it a whirl, because what you have not been doing outside of treatment has not been working, which is why you ended up in treatment in the first place. So I love that part of your story, because what if you decided not to go? Or what if not to stay? Yeah. Who knows if you would be in this chair right now?
I would have ended up doing the time.
Yeah,
I already know that's what was going to happen, because I remember even when I got to treatment, they're like, you have to call your PO immediately. You have to call your probation officer, and I told him, I was like, hey, I'm just letting you know I checked into rehab. And he's all, really? Like, why? I thought like everything was going good, and I was like, well, I kind of fell off a little bit, and I figured I'd probably check myself in before it gets bad. And he's like, okay, well, I'm glad that you're being honest, but if you leave, you need to let me know. And if you leave and you don't tell me, you're violating, and I will put out a warrant for your arrest immediately. So that was my option. And I was like, okay, so if I do leave, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know?
and thank God for those consequences, though, man. Because people are dying today.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough consequences for the actions of when I was getting loaded in the 90s, dude.
Can't even have a baggie on you.
No, a baggie with residue was
prison
a
for a bag.
fucking felony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like those, I am so grateful for those consequences because I'm only clean and sober because of the nudge from the judge, man. It was like you're doing this, or you're going to prison, and you're not leaving, or you're going to prison. And I'm wondering because I wanted to ask you this. Do you know what happened to that girl?
So she took off and she's somewhere out of state. She split. She got a new dude and she split. And I don't
You don't know if she ever got sober? Or?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't talk to her. I haven't heard from her. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure if she was doing good, I probably would have heard from her.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that she's not doing good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not, like, what am I going to do?
Exactly.
Nothing.
There's nothing I
No,
can do
you're
to
living
help.
a life fucking-
Yeah, I can't.
And an amazing life. And I hope that couples
Hear that.
hear what
Yeah.
you said, because you know what? One of you can stay.
For sure.
One of you can stay and actually potentially change both people's lives for the better. Because, sometimes just standing your ground and being like, dude, you want to go live that life? Go continue living that life. I'll be right here getting sober when you're ready.
Yeah.
If you ever become ready.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, like, I can't imagine, it going any other way that would be good
Yeah.
than the way that it did. I don't think there was any other possible outcome for it to be like a positive thing. You know what I mean? Every other outlet I have, I'm like, I'm fucked either way.
Yeah.
I'm fucked. I'm burnt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what's the point? Why?
You were already going to prison.
know?
You
Yeah.
leave. You were going to prison for 6
So
years
it's like,
minimum.
and I'm not a prison guy. You know what I mean?
might have been.
I might, maybe,
It
I
could have
don't know.
been.
It never went, but you know what I mean? I knew that I was like, that's not really, I'm not even down. I didn't even like county jail.
No.
County jail was like not cool.
Not fun,
I'm like,
right?
this is stupid, dude.
I've
Like,
been every county jail between here. I've never been to L.A. county jail, but all the oranges, every one in Orange,
Yeah.
even the old James Music Facility in Irvine.
dude, and all the guys in there were like, oh, you're going to go to prison? That's great, man. Prison's way better than county. And I'm like, I don't see how it could be. I don't-
Like county is
like, what do you mean better?
better?
Yeah. I'm like, what do you mean
Different,
better, dude? Like,
different, but not better.
Yeah.
You're still locked up. There's still no girls.
Yeah.
There's still
Like, there's,
like,
yeah, like what's better, the food? I don't know what do you mean better, dude.
dude.
You
know how many penises I've seen because of jail?
Wow.
More than you, Shane.
I've seen
No,
more.
I don't know.
I've seen more penises than I have vaginas.
Me too.
That's for sure, dude.
For sure.
Yeah, by a long shot.
110%.
So what's your sobriety day now?
July 18th, 2020.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for
And
you.
it was a trip too because I got sober right in the lockdown. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like a weird time.
Sure.
Everything was closed. There wasn't a lot of meetings.
Oh yeah.
The rehab, like right when I got to rehab, they went on lockdown again. So we weren't allowed to have like visitors. We weren't allowed to leave. Like it was like they weren't taking new people in. So when people would graduate, the group would just get smaller and smaller and smaller.
wow.
So it was a trippy time to be sober, But it was also like, I guess for me it worked out the best way because like it forced me to just kind of like be there and not have any other distractions.
For sure. There's nothing else going on.
There was nothing going on. I didn't have a cell phone. And we weren't allowed to have phones there. You know what I mean? I didn't have any communication with nobody. I didn't have, like it was just kind of like I'm there. All I got is my fucking big book and my notebook and a
go to
pen
work.
and a
Yep.
pen and I'm just doing these steps.
So good.
And but what's crazy too is like there was like 24 people in there, when I first got there, right? And there's like 6 of us that are still sober
Wow.
from that group,
Great.
which is
A huge.
that's so like, dude, that's so big because most of the time it's like,
Yeah.
like one of you guys is gonna stay sober to that group, and we had like 6 of them. Like one of my very best friends today is like was like one of the guys I met in there. You know what I mean? And
Nice.
it's like it's crazy, like
Nice.
like just the relationships you have today. Like my sponsor, right? Like my sponsor is one of my very best friends now. today.
Yeah.
You know, we have this amazing friendship, you know, and it's like all that stuff I would have totally missed out on, you know?
Sure.
Like I've never had friends like I do today,
Yeah.
ever, you know?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, man, dude, thanks for coming on and sharing your story, man. This is like one of this. I love this podcast
Yeah.
because this is recovery, you know, and
hope.
it's
Your
hope.
story is incredible.
Yeah.
It's just another testament to like this shit works.
It does.
Give it a try, regardless of what is happening on the outside, what you're potentially facing, whether it's prison, jail, whatever it is. Give it a whirl, because like your story is just another part of the deal,
Yeah.
part of the promises and the
And
gifts.
anybody can do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You don't have to have.
Anybody can do it. God
don't-
always shows up.
You don't have
Always.
to have. It doesn't matter how much money you got
I
in your
agree
bank
with you,
account.
brother. I
No.
agree.
Doesn't matter-
Or how little.
Doesn't it doesn't matter how who you know.
No.
Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't. None of that. It's like it's available to
Everyone.
anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, but you have to like decide. Like like everybody wants the results, but nobody wants to do the work for a lot of things, right?
Always.
For
That's
anything.
just life in
You
general.
know, I want
right?
that high paying job, but I don't really want to put in the work to get it. I want to get in shape, but I don't want to go to the gym. I want to, I don't want to eat right, or I don't want to do this. You know, and it's like I
I
want to
mean,
get sober,
bro,
but
I
don't
want
wanna-
to eat McDonald's and
Yeah.
fucking In-N-Out and pizza every day.
Me
That's
too.
what I want to do.
I love those things.
I don't do that because I don't like the way I look if that's all I eat.
Yeah, I don't like the way I feel when I eat like that either.
100. That's where I'm at. That's
I've been eating
really-
clean, and I'm like,
I like
eat
ice
and I don't feel
cream.
like shit after.
Yeah, exactly.
And hamburgers and pizza. You know why I'm saying all this stuff? Because I'm motherfucking hungry right now.
Yeah. But I love it. Like literally, good for you. I wish all of the continued
Yeah.
amazingness that is happening, not only for your own personal life, but for all the people that are in your life and what you're contributing to them as well. Like all the men that you're sponsoring, to your family, kind of rolling the sobriety journey as well. I think it's just awesome, and it's another reason why I love this program.
Yeah.
And bro, one thing, just I want to say this to you because I've never said this to a guest before. You need to go on podcasts
More?
And- yes, and you need to tell your story everywhere you can tell your story, because your story and your recovery is so attractive.
Thank you.
You know, because like it's based on attraction rather than
Right.
promotion, and just you going on, because we have to recover out loud today,
Yeah.
man.
Well,
you know,
especially today.
Yeah.
especially today.
For
And
sure.
your story, your journey, is worth it for everybody who can possibly hear it.
Yeah.
It's inspiring, my friend.
It is important too, because I remember like before, like I didn't know that this is what recovery was.
Oh, totally.
I didn't know that this is what it could be.
Yeah,
I didn't know
didn't
that.
even know it existed.
I thought that I'm just gonna drink and be boring and lame,
No.
and life's gonna suck, and like I'm just like I didn't know it was gonna be amazing,
Yeah,
you know. And it's like if more people are talking about this and they're going like, "Hey, this is amazing," more people are gonna be like, "All right, I guess I'll
that's
probably give it a
interesting.
shot."
And
Yeah.
and we're not, you know, and even with the podcast and stuff, like we're not promoting.
We're not.
We're just finally
Yeah.
showing people that hey,
Vessel.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what happened.
Yep.
life's a fucking
Yeah.
pretty dope up here,
Yeah,
or over here, or wherever.
yeah,
I like up here.
yeah.
Up here.
This is what I did.
I just don't
Yeah.
want people to think we're up here on our high horse,
No.
because
Oh,
you know,
no.
not on the high horse.
All right.
We're on a chair.
We're on the unhigh
We're on a
horse.
chair that, yeah. We're on a chair that can.
Swivel.
Yeah.
But thank you so
Thanks,
much.
bro.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely.